we look at the grid for this race 2. Heat number 2 starts off with the front row of the grid. Nicholas Hutchings just ahead of Adrian Solomon and Jamie Hall on the front row. Second row of the grid, Reynald Burnett in 4th ahead of Brandon Hutchings and Abdul Isak. I heard from Abdul, he's got an old rear tyre that he's had on for the whole season, and he's secretly saving some new tyres for PE next weekend. So he's been running this bike hard for the last season, and you'll probably see him now in the second race. If you see him go wide, it's because that back tyre is a little bit naughty.
Well, you know, we cannot be held accountable for his decisions, unfortunately, and it's to his detriment. But Abdul always having fun out there. He's a man that came onto the scene a couple of years ago, and he's really enjoying his riding. Abby Bosson seems to be okay. She's back on the grid after a tumble. So she'll be hammering it out there with Raymond Alexander and Max Munton. Max Munton I spoke to. Raymond pipped him on the post because his brakes were binding. So he was very, very upset about that. Hopefully they have remedied that situation.
Yeah, it was a little bit unhappy for him because he said he had it in him and he got on the gas coming out of the final corner and just coming to the line. I think it was, he said there was 3 or 6 seconds between them, and as he come to the line it just started bubbling, and then rolled it across the line at 120, which is not the speed they generally go at.
Yeah, no, and just having a look there, I spoke to Peter Hill. He's nursing a bit of a neck ache, so he's not very comfortable out there. He just said he wants to get it over with, although he's enjoying himself. So yeah, Almay Moster did exceptionally well. So nice to see Almay doing so well. Cody Riedlinger is also finding her feet. She'll probably be something to be contended with in the new season next year.
And I see Lee Anthony Pinn is back out for ABC International Real Estate. He had a fall on the second last lap of the first race. He just tucked it in a little bit too hard and slid out, and he went off into the dirt. He got up fine. The bike was a little bit scratched on the right-hand side, but apparently he said to me that the bike's all good and he'll make it out for race 2. So good to see him back out there, repping ABC Property, or ABC Real Estate rather.
It's there at the back there in the white bike.
I believe we don't have any pit lane starters this time around. Everyone's on the grid. We see Lance Jonas, Abigail Bosson and Raymond Alexander sitting there. There's no Max Munton. Max Munton's not in the second race. He will not be out here as the lights are on and they're off. You hear those revs climb. I can't even hear myself think as the 600s, or the 650s rather than the 300s, make their way down into Hole's Hook. That cameraman is really in not the primest of spots to be as he walks a little bit out of the way. Now they make their way out of Hole's Hook and down to Castrol.
Well, here they go up the Bear Straight, and Nicholas Hutchings leading out there from Adrian Solomon. Jamie Hall is in there as well. Up behind them, Reinhard Burnett. They work their way through Castrol Corner, making their way down through the Landstem Kink, down towards Damstip. And Nicholas Hutchings there, pushing it in hard. Adrian Solomon, Jamie Hall's chasing. Jamie Hall's already crowned champion in this class, but I'm sure you want to have a good showing, much like he did in the previous race when he against Hilton Relegase. But the 2 young guns in front of him are pretty nimble, and he's going to have got a tall order ahead of him.
As we know, Jamie Hall already the 650s, a Super Twin Cup champion this year, and Adrian Solomon already the Supersport 300s champion. But now we see Adrian jump up to the 650s, and he's already doing an absolute smasher of a first round on this bike for him, even though it is the last race of the season. And I'm sure we'll see him on the 650 next year as they now run out of Castrol Corner. We watch them run to the line, and then we'll see the order as they come across. But so far, Nicholas Hutchings still holding it out in the lead.
Down the Porsche Straight, Nicholas Hutchings, Jamie Hall, Brandon Hutchings there, Reinhard Burnett, Paul Medell, Abdul Isak, Lance Jonas, Raymond Alexander, Abigail Bosson, and Mitch Robinson now up to 3rd there in the 300 class.
Yep, good to see Mitch up there. I think one of the oldest guys on the grid, but definitely probably the youngest at heart. So good to see him running out there as they now all make their way into Castrol Corner on the second lap of the race, or the first flying lap of the race. We watch them cut through the Landstem Kink and now down into Dam's Dip once again. It's Hutchings from Solomon, from Hall, from Hutchings, Burnett, Medell, Isak, Jonas, Alexander and Boston are your top 10. Then Robertson sitting there in 11th. Obviously Max Munton not out there, but would be fighting at the front of the 300s class. But he also had some sort of engine issue that there was unrelated, and they said instead of doing more harm to the bike, let's call it a day. It's the end of the season. There's no point in putting it in detriment, even though you've got the time during the holiday season and into January and February to fix the bike. But now we watch. Here come our leaders into into Pertamina Fostron rather, and look how close that 3 is.
Nicholas Hutchings holding out there. Lots of experience there. Adrian Solomon hanging in tight. Jamie Hall is going to want to get closer. It's now Slipstream City on their way down towards Holes. And Jamie Hall up on the inside of Adrian Solomon. Hall slides it up into second. Holds on. Oh, he hung on that one nicely there. He's got Adrian right behind him. And should close the door in on Adrian Solomon now. Nicholas Hutchings getting away. I think Jamie Hall is going to want to chase down on Nicholas. But of course, he's the meat in the sandwich because we've got Adrian Solomon right up there behind him now as they exit. Adrian trying to go around his outside, but Jamie, a wise old contender.
You say the meat in the sandwich, but it looks like the top piece of bread has been lifted off and thrown away as there goes Nicholas Hutchings just pulling ahead. It says 0.3 of a second, but it's probably closer to a second now as Solomon and Hall fight it there for second place overall. Tucking into the right-hander, the Sarl sweep, double apex right-hander, and down onto Kalani straight. We watch them come through frame. It's Hutchings from Solomon from Hall. Then Braden Hutchings on the 74, also Hutchins Serving Center Racing's bike. Then we see Burnett, Medell, Jonas and Isak come through on the 650s.
Jamie Hall, the fastest man on the circuit with a 1 minute 22.5. So that gives you an idea. He's starting to try and close up on the back of Nicholas Hutchings, and Adrian Solomon is there for good company as they come out there in fourth place. Braden Hutchings, the other HSC rider from Nicholas. And up behind him there is Bernard Burnett, and Paul Medell has come up through the ranks and now sits up there in P6.
Yep, we watch them dive on the brakes into Hall's hook once again. And it's 0.9 of a second between Hall and Hutchings, and then just under 0.3 of a second between Hall and Solomon. So they will still fight it out for second place as Hutchings gets very bumped, or very squarely over those roots and bumps into Castrol. Then we see there's Hutchings, that's Braden, then Medell, then there's Reynard Burnett, and then we see Jonas and Isak in your picture before the 300s make their way towards Castrol.
Well, we said Abdul's going to look after that tie. He's doing it. Have a look there at the 300s. It's Abigail Bosson and Raymond Alexander at a full tilt. Little Abby up ahead there. Let's see if she can hold out on Raymond Alexander.
Yep, very much so. And she's a fierce young lady, is Abby. And she, like I said a little bit earlier on this morning, she's going to Spain in a week's time. So she needs this practice, needs these runs to get these laps and to feel comfortable for when she goes to a different circuit. So she'll be repping our very own Kalani circuit with her next week as they now head through Pertamina Fostron, and the gap once again is opening for the leader.
Nicholas Hutchins gets past the slow marker. Jamie Hall trying to reel him in, and Adrian Solomon sitting up there behind him now. There's no slipstreaming now. They're too far apart. They need to just get their heads down and make their way down into holes. And Jamie Hall trying to get a little bit closer towards Nicholas Hutchings. He's now not worried about Adrian Solomon. He's more worried about gaining on Nicholas. We'll watch now as they go up the bear straight up towards Castrol corner. Nicholas Hutchings, Jamie Hall. Hutchings getting a little bit out of shape there, but manages to collect it. And watch the rest come through. There's Braden Hutchins up behind him. Paul Medell closing hand over foot. And Paul Medell, well, he's probably got about 50 years bike experience behind him, so he'll know exactly what to do behind Braden Hutchins, and he'll be chasing on. So here we go. Here's Braden, here's Paul, and so Braden and Paul having a right good old tussle now as they work their way up towards Tigerberg straight away. The leaders are going down the back straight, but can Paul Medell catch Braden Hutchins? Well, it's to be seen. They're pretty close.
It was back and forth in Heat 1 between these two. They obviously fighting for fourth place overall. But this fighting, as we know with any kind of racing, if the two ahead of you fight and slow themselves down, that gives Burnett, Jonas and Isak the chance to join back up to them. But they are both 3 or 4 seconds, 3 seconds to Jonas and 2 seconds there. But here's our leader, Nicholas Hutchings. We'll look at the gap between him, second and third. It's now 1.1 seconds to Hall is Hutchings. And then Hall and Solomon are still 0.3 between the two. That's second and third making their way through, and then we'll watch the whole field run through now. There's Braden Hutchings and Paul Medell, and then a little bit further coming across the line now, there's Reynard Burnett. Then as they leave our picture, it's Jonas from Isak from Boston, from Alexander Robinson, Alme Mostert in 12th place, Peter Hill in 13th, Redling Ace, Peterson and Pin at the back end of the field.
Paul Medell up on the inside of Braden Hutchins, and he takes Braden Hutchins into Castrol corner. Paul Medell waited his time and has got past Braden. I said in the previous lap it won't be too long that Paul Medell can catch. So it's up to Braden to try and regain that place, but I think it's going to be very difficult. Paul Medell is a very, very wily contender, and he knows exactly what to do.
The leaders now make their way down towards Pertamina Fostron as we see that still Paul Medell and Hutchings battle go through Sorrel Sweep. But there's your leaders. There is Nicholas Hutchings. It says 1.1 seconds, but it'll probably be closer to 1.5, or maybe not, as Jamie Hall dives late on the brakes here. You see the gap between himself and Adrian Solomon has opened up. So now they're all quite equally split with 4 laps to go, 3 laps to go.
I think Jamie Hall is really going to try his utmost to catch Nicholas, but Nicholas is not going to let go of that throttle anytime soon as they come down into holes. Turn number 1, Nicholas dives in. There's Jamie Hall, and up behind him, Adrian Solomon. They make their way up the Uber straight now up towards Castrol corner.
91. It's 51. It looks like Abigail Boston's dropped down the field once again. I'm not quite sure where she went off, but she's dropped a whole bunch. She's now sitting in 15th, so it's very, very hard luck for the young lady.
Abby obviously putting the bike down somewhere. I don't know where, but it's not doing her practice any good. So Abigail Boston putting it down in turn 4. Not doing her attempts any good here for practice to go overseas.
The leaders now heading into Pertamina Fostron with 3 to go. They're exiting Pertamina Fostron now. There's Adrian Solomon now coming past a back marker. That should be Enrique Peterson. Oh, no, that's Cody Redling Ace, sorry. He'll pass Redling Ace. And then we'll watch the leaders now come down into turn 1. They'll cross the line. And here they come. There you see those two just passing pit exit. It's Hutchings from Jamie Hall with 2 laps to go. A 1:22.140 for Nicholas Hutchings. And 8/10 divide the two.
Yeah, can Jamie Hall reel him in? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Nicholas is not going to hold back. It's all up to Jamie Hall to try and catch him. Got a slow marker in front of them. They'll come up on the inside. Slow markers can sometimes... Oh! And that was Peter Hill again. And Jamie Hall losing now. That's lost touch with Nicholas Hutchings, and I think that set him loose now. So Jamie Hall being held up there by Peter Hill. And it's going to be a mighty, mighty Titanic tussle for Jamie Hall to try and reel Nicholas in. And Adrian Solomon also way back on this one. He was also held up by a slow marker.
Maybe Adrian Solomon's realized how much work these 650s are after jumping off his... I'm sure he was well acclimatized to his 400 in the 300s class. Now he jumps onto a much bulkier 650 and he's fighting with the big boys. And now maybe he's just got a little bit fatigued, but knowing Adrian, he's got a lot of energy in him. But he still sits there in 3rd place, 4 seconds off Jamie Hall. But Jamie Hall is still under a second behind Nicholas Hutchings with now a lap to go.
Yeah, I don't know if Jamie will catch Nicholas. Nicholas is on the even pace. They're on even pace. Jamie Hall's about a half a second quicker, so it's not enough to catch him if you work out the divisible of the track length. Paul Medell is up there in 4th behind Adrian Solomon. There goes Jamie Hall into holes, exiting holes behind Nicholas. You can see Nicholas, he just can't catch him. Yeah. So Nicholas Hutchings coming into Castrol corner, hard on the brakes. You see the bike squirm under him as he hits the brakes. Controls it nicely there on the HSC bike. Jamie Hall up there in 2nd. And sitting up there then in 3rd place, Adrian Solomon. Adrian a little bit off the back end there as the leaders go down into Dams out of Lunstem Kink. And here comes Adrian Solomon into picture. Solomon working his way through. But your leader now working his way around. It should be...
Yep, they run down the Kalani Straight for the final time today for the BATT Super Twin Cup 650s and Super Sport 300s. It's not going to be a battle to the line. It's going to be a domination, I'd say, for the number 72 Hutchings Service Centre Racing. Nicholas Hutchings rounds the final corner on the final lap ahead of Jamie Hall, 1.5 seconds adrift. Coming under the City of Cape Town, Lion Property Management and Castrol Bridge, Nicholas Hutchings takes the win in race 2 ahead of Jamie Hall. Now coming to the line, new 650 rider Adrian Solomon, and 300s champion crosses in 3rd place. He'll take the podium for the day. Then Paul Medell manages to scrap ahead and beat Braden Hutchings to the line by 0.8 of a second. Then you watch Peter Heel come to the line, one of the back markers. He will take 12th overall. Then Burnett comes across the line in 6th, ahead of Lance Jonas, who now also passes the ABC International Real Estate bike of Leanthony Pin. Coming to the line, we see Lance Jonas coming home in 7th. We wait for Abdul Isak now coming to the line on that scrappy old tire of his. He'll take 8th overall and 8th in class. Then your first of the 300s and extending his lead, and I believe taking 2nd place in the Super Sport 300s class, Raymond Alexander takes the win in class ahead of Mitch Robertson. A brilliant result from Mitch, sitting there in 11th overall, and Alme Mostert coming home in 10th place overall. Brilliant result from her, and 9th in class. There's your final riders crossing the line. And that'll be that for the BATT Super Twin Cup 650s and Motorsport, and Supersport 300s for the 2024 season. Brilliant riding from all of the ladies and gentlemen out there today. Said we missed a couple of riders, the likes of Max Munter not making it out for race 2, Boston not finishing race 1 and race 2, and we didn't see Zante Otto out today. Unfortunately, she injured herself once again, and she'll be out for the foreseeable future. But we hope to see her back in and racing once again, hopefully sometime next year.